Hey everyone, it's Betsy here, and today we are going to graph equations of lines using point slope form. Now, the first thing I want you to understand is that lines, we're talking about linear, right? So the x and y exponents are ones. So if I go over to my first equation, these are all understood to be ones. In every one of these, if we're graphing a line, the exponents are ones. Once an exponent changes to a 2, you've got quadratic equations, and that's not a line. You're not graphing a line if it's a quadratic equation. It's actually called a parabola, but we'll get into that later. So right now, when you're graphing, I want you to think we're graphing linear equations, which means the graphs are going to look like oblique lines, which are slanted, horizontal lines, think horizon, straight across, or vertical lines, which are straight up and down. Those are the three types of lines. So let's get started here. I need to show you something really quick in the formula so that we don't have any confusion. So when I look at this formula, it's y minus y1. So it's y minus. Because this is a minus here, y1 would have had to have been a positive 4. Equals 3x minus. Now this is a positive. That means x1 would have had to have been negative 1. To get that double negative. All right. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that. All I'm going to tell you is when you're taking a order pair from point slope form, change the signs for the x and y. So when I look at number 1, m is outside the parentheses, and x1, y1, the point that is given to us, opposite sign. It's x plus 1, so you write minus 1. It's y minus 4, so you write plus 4. Now, we have our slope, and we have a point that the line goes through. So now we can write our equation, or we can graph our equation. Excuse me. So I'm going to start at the point they give us. So I'm going to go to this point right here. That's where we're going to start. So I'm going to go from 0, I'm going to go left 1 and go 1, 2, 3, 4 up. It puts me right there. Okay. Now, my slope, we always want our slope written as a fraction when we're graphing. So I'm going to put a 1 underneath it. Because the slope is positive from my point, I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put a dot there. Then I always go to the right. So I'm going to go to the right 1, which puts us right here. So now I can connect my first and my third dots, and I have my line. Boom. I'll put my little arrows at the end to represent the line. So there you go. My slope was positive, so the line had to be going up. And my point I started at was negative 4, 0. So what is actually the y-intercept here? Where does it cross the y-axis? We can do that. We can look right here, and it looks like it's crossing at 7. So how would we represent that? 0, 7. That would be my y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis. How are we doing? All right. And you can check that if you want. You can go back here and put 0 in for x. So 3 times 1 is 3, and then bring the 4 over, you got 7. So it does work. So you could always put that value back in, put 0 in for x, and see if you get 7 for y. And we do. All right, let's go on to the next one. So I'm going to erase a little bit here. Erase the line. Make some room. I don't like it to be sloppy. So in our next equation, we have y plus 2 equals 6x. Well, I don't have anything in parentheses here, but we could write it like that. This is the same thing as this. Y plus 2 equals 6x minus nothing. That's the same thing as 6x, right? So our slope is right here, the 6. And the point for x, it's 0. And for y, opposite sign, it's -2. 0 is neutral. It doesn't have a sign. So x value is 0. Y is -2. Opposite sign, right? All right, so let's go ahead and graph it. We start at the point. So it's over nothing down to right there. And you know that that's your y-intercept because x is 0. From there, we need to make our slope into a fraction. So I'm going to put it as 6/1. And I'm going to go up and right from my point. So I got to move before I start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 up. And from there, we have to go right 1. So right from my new dot, I'm going to go right 1. When I connect my first and last dots, I have my line. Boom. So we have the y-intercept, it's -2. Our graph did go through -2. And our line is going up, which is good because our slope is positive, right? We want it to go up. All right, let's go on to our last one. Clean it up a little bit. So here, we've cleaned it up a little bit. Now, let's look at our last equation here. We've got y equals -4 times the quantity x minus 2. So we got y equals. So I want to write this in point slope form. So I'm going to put y minus 0 equals. There's nothing there, so it's just a 0 for x minus 2. Now, that's my equation. So my slope is 4, and because we're graphing it, we're going to make it a fraction. The point we have is opposite sign, 2, and then there's nothing there, so 2, 0. And where do we start at? Who remembers? We start at the point that we're given. So we're going to start here. So 2, 0, we go right to and up nothing. You can see the y value is 0, so this is our x-intercept. And as you can see, it's sitting on the x-axis. From there, what are we going to do? We got to take a look at our slope. It's positive, so we're going to go up and right from the point we just made. So I'm going to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, that's right there. Then from there, we are going to go right 1, right there. And when we connect our first and last dots, we will have our line. Boom, there it is. Make my little arrows on it because the line goes on forever, and you have your equation. So what did you learn here? Think about it for a minute. Outside the parentheses is your slope. M is your slope. When we write the ordered pair, we're using opposite signs. So here it was a +1, so our ordered pair is -1. Here it was a -4, so in our ordered pair, it's going to be a +4. The next one, we don't have parentheses with our x, which means there's nothing with it. So we put a 0 there. So 0 is neutral, it's always just going to be 0. And the y is a +2 in the form, so we're going to make it -2. In our last equation, let's look at the last one. We have a -2, so we use the opposite sign. And it's not y minus, it's not y plus, it's just a 0. So we put a 0 there. There's nothing with the y, so it's understood to be a 0. How are we doing? Everybody okay? All right, let's go on to the next video, do some more graphing. Thank you for joining. I hope you will subscribe. And always, if you have questions, I will answer them. You can comment or you can send me an email at betsymathminute@gmail.com and I will get back to you. So don't feel embarrassed or anything about asking questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. I want to help you. Thank you.